Hi, I'm Pam, and I would like to welcome you to the Live Authentically show. My team and I help other people step into their authentic realities via a number of different modalities. This show is one of them. We also have a Facebook group, and we can be found at liveauthentically.today/FB. And we are a group of like minded people committed to spiritual growth and transformation. I'm super pumped that I just released my first book this year. It's called SOAR, SOAR, and it's on Amazon. It's available in audiobook, paperback, and Kindle. And it's a spiritual journey through a transformative event in my life and shows how I used the law of attraction, which Andrew is going to talk to us about today, and other foundational laws of the universe to create my reality. So thank you all for being here. And thank you, Andrew, for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me, and congratulations on your book. That must be really exciting.
Thank you. Yes, I'm super excited, super pumped to join the Authors Club, which I know you are a big part of. Can't wait to hear all about your book today. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm really excited. Based on what I know about you, I'm really pumped into where this conversation might go. So I'm just, great way to spend my Friday morning.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. So, I'm going to start off with two questions. One is, I realized recently through, interviewing different podcast guests that technology is just so amazing because it can bring us together with people from all over the world. I've interviewed people from Dubai recently. I just got off with someone from Romania. So, I mean, it's amazing to me. And so I want to add this geographic element. So I'd love for you to start off by telling us where in the world you're joining us from.
Sure. I'm about 1.5 hours north of New York City right now.
Oh, okay. Love it. And did you grow up there or did you?
Yeah. I've been a lifelong New Yorker. It's really funny because my accent has almost shifted. I went to college on Long Island and I
Okay.
had like the Long Island thing going on, but I grew up north of the Bronx, so I had the
Okay.
Bronx accent. And then I lived in Queens, and I'm still in Queens a lot of the time. So it's so funny because New York people that are there, there'll be like a slight distinction in the flavor of accent. I don't
Okay.
even know what I sound like anymore because I've been all over, but
Okay.
around the heart of Manhattan for the most part.
Love it. And so what do you love about that area the most?
Well, obviously this year's been a bit of a difference in terms of what you experience, but like
Yeah.
the one thing I always loved about New York is there's always something to do or someplace to be. Like
Mhm.
it's impossible to be bored if you're in New York. Like there's even if you want to sit alone, you're going to sit alone and you're going to hear noise coming from outside the window. Like something is going to happen. There's something always going on. So there were times where that was frustrating to me. But I learned, I learned to really appreciate all the cool things going on and all the variety and just all the different styles of people and how they go about their lives here.
Yeah, it's such an amazing city. I've been there a couple times and definitely when things quiet down, with the pandemic, I definitely want to head back out there because it is just such a fantastic city.
Yeah. Whereabouts are you?
I'm in Chicago.
Awesome.
I'm in the suburbs, but Chicago is the closest major city.
So we're both dealing with that twinge of cold weather right now, right?
Yep, yep, for sure. So, all right. And so thank you for sharing that. I love to always hear about where people are from. And then the second question I'd like to start off with is what does it mean to you to live authentically every day?
Hmm. It's so interesting because there's short answers and long answers to that. And even when you ask that, my brain just like exploded in a million different directions. For me, living authentically, it's almost kind of like, and this sounds negative, but it really is positive. It's reminding myself of all the inaccuracies I might have been presented in the past that might have led me in a way where I'm not being authentic, in a way I'm not being my real self, and
Mhm.
reminding myself that not only is it okay to be myself, but that it's preferred and it's actually adding value into the world when we're all more authentic with who we are and how we go about our lives.
Love that. Thank you. You talked about, use the word inaccuracies. What are some of those beliefs that are kind of, barriers, things that get in the way of
Mhm.
us being living in our authentic reality?
Well, I think an easy instant one is that we're not enough, and also another one is that we have to please everybody. And that, by the way, this makes perfect sense, regardless of how religious you may or may not be. I mean, there's been humans have been around for a long time, and there's a lot of genetically programmed code in there telling you don't get the group upset because
Mhm.
if you tee off the group. I'll watch my language. They kick you out, and all of a sudden you're on your own against that saber-toothed tiger. So there's something embedded in us in that we don't want to disappoint others. We don't want others mad at us, not even realizing that most of the time others don't care. Most of the time they're really just thinking about their own stuff and worried about how they're being perceived by the world. So I think that governs a lot of what we do and how we go about ourselves. And like, congrats to you that you wrote this book. I imagine some people aren't writing a book because they're worried about what people might think of them, or they're not expressing idea, or they're not starting a YouTube channel, or they're not doing something that's really in their heart, that really makes their heart sing, because there's somebody that they know from their childhood or from their current life that they think they'll be judged.
Yeah.
And not that I'm better or worse than anyone else, but there are times when I do something, like I put out a YouTube video,
Mhm.
and there's one or two people that come in mind that are a bit cynical. And when I think about what they would think of it, it reminds me to turn it up an even higher notch. I'm like, oh, they're gonna look down on this. I'm not even ramping this up enough. This is my reminder of like, get out of my shell and
Yeah.
really not worry about being silly or being over the top or whatever else.
I love that you share that, because that's like the perfect example of how we can, when those thoughts of doubt or judgment or criticism come up, that's obviously all our ego. I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but just kind of for our viewers and listeners, that's our ego. And I love how, you've taken that and you've transmuted it into fuel for your mission. So you've
Yes.
transmuted it. And that's the beauty of it. That's when you really access your true power, as is there's a way. I mean, the ego, we can get into that a little bit too here, but the ego sort of gets a bad rap, right? When we talk about judgment and criticism and self-doubt and all that, but there is a way that we can use it to empower us. And I
Mm,
think that that's so, and so important to be aware of when we're having those thoughts of judgment. You talked about maybe you felt like you were maybe holding back a little bit and people might judge you, and then you decided to ramp it up. And I think it's normal for, any content creator, whether you're creating a video or when you're writing. I mean, I experienced that when I was writing my book. There were a few times it's a very personal journey. So there were a few times where I was like, oh, should I put that in there? I wonder what this person would think or that person would think or society in general. And I was like, you know what? That doesn't matter. This is about me. This is
mm,
about me sharing my journey in an authentic way. And
yeah.
these people are judging me, then you know what? They're not my people. This is about me. And that's the beauty about authenticity, is when you just put yourself out there, when you show up in an authentic way, aligned with who you are, the people who are meant to be in your life find you. And the people, there's kind of a natural attrition, right? The people who aren't supposed to be, who aren't aligned with you, sort of fall away and find their people too. So
Yeah.
kind of, it really is sort of a beautiful process, but we have to allow it and we have to be open to it. And we have to understand that's okay. So I'd love to
Yeah.
hear you talk a little bit about that. I mean, that particular dynamic, because I think that that's so important. I think some people just become so firmly affixed to certain circles or the way things used to be, or staying within the box. And how can you help people sort of realize it's okay, not only okay, but actually preferred to step out of the box?
Yeah. Well, I think a key thing to keep in mind is you want to expect emotional discomfort, because again, like I said, it's programmed into us not to want to get the group mad at us.
Mhm.
So when you're doing something, even when you feel good in your gut and it's making your heart sing, there is going to be a piece of you like that's like, "Ugh, I don't know." I would advise people to expect that it has to come that way. That's kind of part of, you want to be able to tell the distinction between your gut and outside, ego concerns, but
Mhm.
that's part of an indication that you're along the right path, because it, at some point when you do this enough, it won't even be a hint of a shadow of a memory of what it feels like to get the group upset at you. But in the beginning, you have to expect that discomfort and know that it's okay. And you mentioned the ego, and it's interesting. In my book, I ego is funny because ego, love, God, sex, like these are all very loaded terms where people affix a lot of meanings. And I'm by no means a clinical psychologist. The way I define ego is it's that part of your mind between the conscious and the subconscious, and it has one job in life. The way I define it, probably not the way you do, and that's to keep you alive. And that, by the way, means the money problems you might have right now, the relationship problems, the health problems. The ego is kind of like on board with it, because all it knows is that despite all that, in this moment, you are alive right now.
Mhm.
So that book that you might write that might make you rich and famous, the ego is going to get dealt into your head of like, don't do that, because for all the ego knows is when you're famous, you'll get stalkers, and that's a threat to your survival. For all the ego knows is when you make all that money, Distant family that you never liked anyway is going to come out of the woodwork and try to sue you for it. Another threat to your survival. So your ego, actually, in my definition of it, it loves you. It's a misguided attempt to hold you down, but it's oftentimes the reason that you don't make changes, because it's just so scared that when you make those changes, it's not going to go the way you want, and your survival will actually be in doubt.
Okay. Wow. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Great explanation. Um, all right. So let's dive in right from the high dive, shall we?
Sure.
To the law of attraction. I have so been looking forward to, I mean, obviously all of our discussion, but diving into the law of attraction, because I remember when I first learned of the law of attraction, and it really wasn't even that long ago. I mean, I felt like I was sort of, I don't know. I guess looking back, I wish I learned about it earlier in my life because it is just so incredibly powerful. Probably in 2013, total game changer.
Mm.
Literally, I learned about it, dove in, started reading about it, listening to different podcasts, etc. And ever since then, I never looked back. The way I saw the world was transformed, the way I lived transformed, what I was attracting into my reality totally transformed. So this is super powerful content, you guys, that Andrew has to share with us, like super powerful knowledge drop coming at you guys right now. So I'd love to have you just start off just very basic and define the law of attraction.
Sure. Well, it's so funny. I did a YouTube video where I defined it in only 60 seconds with like the countdown clock. So now I
Okay.
have this standard. I want to make sure I can meet that out there. But the long and short of the law of attraction is it's a principle based on the idea that we are all vibrational in nature. We look solid, we feel solid, but you look at us under a microscope and we're actually vibrating. In fact, everything in the universe, including us and our thoughts, is vibrating at a certain frequency. And it's like a big energetic soup. So when you think about something, you're vibrating at a frequency that's basically inviting or attracting magnetically, so to speak, the physical manifestation or reality of that thing. So, if you're thinking about a job that you want, you're literally attracting it into your world. And just to skip ahead, because I'm sure people are like, well, I think about that job I want every day and it's not here. Well, how do you explain that, Andrew? And it's like, well, are you thinking about the job with anticipation and enthusiasm and excitement? Or are you thinking about it with fear, uncertainty, frustration, or impatience? Because if you're thinking about it in that context, you're not actually thinking about the job, you're thinking about the lack of the job. You're sending out the vibrational signal of the lack of the job. You don't realize it. You think you're on the job, but you're on the lack. So a piece of this is how you feel about the thing while you're thinking about it, which is really the truth of whether you're actually thinking about what you want or not.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about your book. I love your title, The Last Law of Attraction Book You'll Ever Need to Read.
Thank you.
And I'm first of all curious, how did you come up with that title for your book?
Um, it's so funny. To this, like, I don't even remember how it came about. I remember the title was basically my mission statement. And I kind of wrote down like this is what I want it to be.
Mhm.
And as I'm going through the beginning part of the process, I'm like, you know what? This is long, but this is just a title, because what else am I trying to accomplish here? So obviously, there's a marketing aspect to this where hopefully it's catching someone's eye. But this was also something where I actually designed the cover really early, that I held it in front of myself every day before I wrote a chapter, because I wanted to keep myself on point and on mission and make
Mhm.
sure I'm actually keeping this promise, because that's a really big promise to make. And if you don't keep it, you're going to get killed in reviews. So
Mhm.
this was something really important to me, where if I was going to make this bold promise, I want to make sure to give hopefully people a really nice, enjoyable, fulfilling, paradigm shifting reading experience.
I love it. And I can't wait to read your book. I know that you have, it's obviously been a huge success. I know it's done really well. Super solid reviews. And I'd like to hear you talk about how your book is different, because I feel
Mm.
like there's just so much information out there right now, in terms of what, really anything you can Google out there. There's tons and tons of information. So I would like to hear how your book is different, how you differentiated yourself in this spiritual
Sure.
world where there is just so much information out there.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. And it's funny, you're in the weight loss market, it's a crowded space. You're in the dating market, it's a crowded space. Like, law of attraction is a very, very crowded space. And like anyone else, I've read a lot of books, I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, and I've experienced in my own life. And what I found is any law of attraction book worth its salt is going to do two things. Number one, it's going to clearly describe what the law of attraction is so people can understand it. And
Mhm.
number two, ideally, is it's hopefully going to give you methods that you can use to implement and work in harmony with the law of attraction. I like to hope and think that I did that in my book, but the extra layer, the extra level that I want to do was based on my own personal experience, the understanding of the fact that people will often read these books, get the info they exactly need, and not act on it. I also wanted to address the procrastination, the hesitation, the reason people don't actually do this. And I even gave part of the example with the ego. Why aren't people actually just doing this finally? The goal of my book is to reframe the law of attraction and give a paradigm shift so that people kind of open the door just enough of a crack where they
Mhm.
actually do fun methods in my book for a week or 30 days or whatever, long enough to get a real experiential result. And
Mhm.
then it's not me teaching them, it's not the book teaching them, it's their life experience. And once they've had that experience, even if they get lazy later on, even if they stop, nobody can ever take away that moment that they did this thing and they got this result.
I love that. So, can you share, speaking of life experiences, I firmly believe too, I agree with you. Those are our best teachers, right? When we
Yes.
actually experience something in our own reality. What is your most mind blowing law of attraction story that you can share with our viewers and listeners?
It's really interesting. I learned about the law of attraction probably 2004, if my math is right, because I was looking at all different modalities, and that one really kind of, you know, resonated with me. But again, I had my successes and failures. I used to think that the law of attraction wasn't consistent, and I later find out it was me who wasn't consistent. It was me who was starting and was getting results, and then the ego talked me out of keep on doing it. But 2008, I had an experience where I basically lost my business and my girlfriend of 3 years all in the same week.
Oh,
And she didn't even just break up in person or even on the phone. She broke up over text.
oh,
It was
wow.
a rough deal, and a lot of it was my fault, just because I was so desperately trying to hold on to the business that I
Mhm.
didn't get the relationship enough attention. And then when I finally decided to throw the business away so I can try to salvage a relationship, it was too late.
Mhm.
So, to say that I was depressed and down was an understatement. And I
Oh,
don't even remember how I came to this, but I just made this decision of, like, listen, life is not good right now. I've got to do something. I'm depressed. I'm over this already. And I remember, like, well, the law of attraction thing kind of seems to work whenever I actually do it. So I
mhm.
just for some reason got really stubborn and really indignant. And I told myself, I don't care how this happens, when it happens, why it happens. I don't care about any of that. I'm not even looking at the result. All I know is I'm going all in with this law of attraction thing that's shown promise in the past, and
Mhm.
we'll just see what happens. And when I say all in, I don't mean all day, every day, because I understood by then the human condition. I understood that I was going to burn out on all day. But what
Mhm.
I did do was 5 or 10 minutes every day, five
Okay.
or 10 minutes of gratitude or scripting or visualization. Easy, fun stuff that anyone can do if they're just motivated enough. And I refused. I told myself, this takes 10 years. I don't care. I'm going to do this. Didn't take 10 years. Within 2 weeks, I feel better, which, by the way, is obviously saying a lot with a broken heart. Within 3 months, I'm in a brand new relationship, a way healthier relationship, mind you. Within
Mhm.
4 months, I'm making more money than at any point in my life prior to then. And within 6 months, everything's different. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm waking up happy and fulfilled. There was even like a point in the middle of that where I lost 25 pounds over about 7 weeks without
Mhm.
even trying. I mean, listen, I wasn't just sitting around doing nothing. I was working out with Sensei, but I wasn't trying to lose weight. I was just trying to feel better about myself. But
Mhm.
25 pounds like vanished, and I didn't even have to try or worry about it. All these things, I mean, I put intentional effort in real world, physical, inspired action, but so many things took care of themselves over these 6 months, and like everything just shifted. And I knew in that moment, and it took me till a year ago to actually write this book, but I
Mhm.
knew in that moment, like, no matter what, this works if you work it. And I've got no other excuses that now that I know that this actually does that way.
Mhm. Wow, what an amazing story, and congratulations on that amazing
Thanks.
transformation. Yeah, that had to feel just completely incredible, right? From going from more or less probably what felt like rock bottom, losing a business and an important relationship in your life to, to months later, just totally transformed. So,
Yeah, it was surreal, but the weirdest thing about it was it was normal. I think that's the thing people sometimes don't often realize. Like, sometimes things are going to happen in your life that just blow your socks off. You're like, whoa. But
mhm,
other times, that $1 million that you want, when you have it, you're going to feel normal because you've already achieved the level of consciousness for it. So I
mhm,
think part of the expectation people should have, if they're not feeling like, you're going to feel wonderful, but if you don't feel overly wonderful every single day, that's not necessarily an indication that you're far off from your goal. Things are just going to happen. You're going to wake up one day like, cool. You're not going to be like, whoa, you might, but other days you're
yeah,
just going to be like, yeah, I'm good. Let's do this.
mhm, mhm, I love that. Let's talk a little bit about kind of like the naysayers, right? There's a little bit of a some people think that spirituality is kind of woo woo. The law of attraction is woo woo. It's energy stuff. Does it really work? Maybe, maybe not. Can we dispel some of those myths? I mean, I know that we talk about vibration, energy. I mean, we can really go down to the nitty gritty here on science and metaphysics and all of that, but it really does have, it does have underpinnings in physics and, et cetera. And it is very real to those of us who've experienced it. But what can you say to the people who are living in that place of doubt that,
Yeah.
I'm not so sure this actually works?
So believe it or not, I mean, people can go to the YouTube and look for the double slit experiment for more science, but I don't even have a science explanation. I have something different. I'd
Okay.
like to base this in physical reality. So let's take a completely side example. Let's talk about lifting weights to get muscles.
Mhm.
Very oversimplified, but something everyone understands. Anyone listening right there, I'll give you two possible explanations as to how this thing works. Explanation number one is you lift weights, and when you go to sleep, the muscle fairy comes at night and gives you muscles. Explanation number two is when you lift weights, you're putting so much stress on your body that your muscles are literally tearing in different parts. And then
Mhm.
your body responds by healing you by filling in those tears with more muscle fiber, hence more muscle. Now,
Yeah.
most people listening to this, even if they haven't studied this, they just hear my explanation. They're like, it's the second one. And my answer is, it actually doesn't matter. All
Mhm.
that matters is you lift weights, you get muscles. You put an X, you get Y. And by that same token, even if you don't believe in the law of attraction, you do these methods of gratitude or visualization or whatever,
Mhm.
results will come. And by the way, when they come, don't credit me, don't credit my book, don't credit the law of attraction, don't credit the universe, but at least recognize that you did this and got that and keep doing it. And by the way, if I'm either lying or deluded right now, I'm talking about like gratitude, there's nothing that's going to hurt you. You're not spending any money to spend 5 minutes out every single day feeling gratitude because going to science, they've done studies. People that experience gratitude and put themselves in those positions every single day, they improve their sleep, they increase their confidence, they reduce anxiety,
Mhm.
they enhance their self esteem. There are major benefits of just doing this, even if that quote unquote result doesn't come. So, to all the naysayers, I say, you know what? Keep believing that, but try this out anyway for the real world scientific stuff. And then when the results come, maybe you'll switch your tune, but even if you don't, at least now you'll know that this thing led to that thing.
Yeah. So let's say like you've opened some minds out there. Let's say there are some people who are like, you know what? I think I want to give this a try. What are some basic steps they can do that
Mm.
people can start to do on a daily basis? Very concrete, actionable items. You mentioned a couple different things that they can start to incorporate into their day.
Well, I mean, if I may, I'd love to. I'll teach my favorite method for people, and they can do it. So this is called the time lapse method. So gratitude method. I think it's the first one I put in the book because it is my favorite, and this is the one, by the way, I use the most. That I attribute most to that money boost that I got back when I was changing everything up.
Okay.
So it's pretty easy. You're basically going to write down 15 things that you're grateful for.
Hmm.
Five of them are from your past, five of
Hmm.
them are from your present, and five are things that you want in your future. And
Hmm.
what you're going to do is you're going to write all of them out in the present tense, and you're going to then take that list and you're going to jumble it up. So maybe the first thing is a past item, and then a future, and then a present, and another past. It's all mixed up. So
Hmm.
with this mixed up list of all these things written out in the present tense, you're going to read them one at a time, and you're going to give yourself, I don't know, 20 to 60 seconds to feel gratitude for that thing.
Okay.
And the wonderful thing about what you've done here is you just constructed a list where two-thirds of it has happened or is happening right now, meaning
Hmm.
it's manifested into your physical reality, regardless of whether you believe in the law of attraction or not. Meaning the gratitude that you feel for that has an extra level of certainty and power and confidence and enthusiasm that you just can't replicate. But because psychologically we as humans can't downshift, that's going to carry over into those five things that you read in the future. So you're going to feel just as much certainty and confidence and gratitude about those things, which, by the way, if you believe in the universe, you're sending out a very strong, potent signal to attract it. And
Yeah.
if you don't believe in the universe, you are still sending those instructions or those blueprints to your subconscious mind that's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you.
Hmm.
Regardless of your beliefs, you've basically hijacked your vibration, your psychology into experiencing real, genuine gratitude and confidence for the things that you want to happen in the future while also giving yourself 5 or 10 minutes where you're just enjoying your day.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And that actually is a great segue to another topic that I wanted to touch on. I'm not sure if you talk about it specifically in this book or not, but I'm sure you're an expert in it as well. Manifestation. I mean, obviously, what you just talked about is manifestation. And I'd love to hear you talk about that and how people things they can start to do to create the future that they desire.
Right. Well, it sounds, it's almost the most frustrating thing for people to hear. I know I didn't used to like it myself, but the first thing you want to do, like, is want to be grateful for what you have already,
Mhm.
because you're sending out that signal and that vibration to the universe or your subconscious mind or both, that you have what you want, and that's going to be reinforced and remirrored back to you. Like for me, if I'm writing out, I have a thing called like reasons into reality method, where I write down a bunch of things, but then I write down the reasons why I want them, which is
Mhm.
just affirming what's great about them. If I have a list like that, I'm going to put a couple things on that list that, technically are out of reach, and a
Mhm.
couple things that are closer. Maybe I'm going to put down a $5,000 raise, which is way more reasonable according to our reality. But
Mhm.
also on that list, I'm going to put a job making $500,000. And the thing about that is it's leaving flexibility for people to achieve any of them in any order. So I think
Mhm.
what people can do is they can basically give themselves a break. They can make a list that runs across the spectrum and invite welcome surprises. Like, let themselves be pleasantly surprised by the universe, because you might
Yeah.
think that you want that house because it's a 5 minute commute to work, but there might be a 10 minute commute to work with a way bigger and way better house that doesn't have the plumbing problems that nobody told you about, that doesn't have the noisy neighbors that nobody told you about. There might be a better thing that's 5 months away. And isn't that worth it to let the universe almost guide you and spoon feed you some of those benefits?
Yeah, I love that you said that too. I was just talking to somebody the other day about this because they were like, well, shouldn't I, if I really want something, shouldn't I really envision it, envision that, and only that? But I was explaining that the key to manifestation is detaching from the outcome or the time frame, right? And moving over into that place of trust and giving the universe the grace and the license, right?
Mm,
And the flexibility and the latitude to surprise you, right? That's when life becomes really sweet and really exciting and really magical is when we move over to the passenger seat and let the universe do the driving, right? We just show up. We just show up aligned with who we are in our authentic space, doing, certain, adhering to a certain lifestyle that raises our vibration. And just we move into that place of allowing. And that's
yes.
when life becomes so sweet when we release that control. And I think that is so key because then, like you said, I mean, the universe might know that, there are certain attributes of one house that another house doesn't have. And I always say, the universe is hearing conversations we're not hearing, seeing things that we're not seeing. And it always, always, always will deliver what's in our highest good.
Yeah.
So we just need to trust that that is part of the process, right? And detach from the outcome. So I'd love to hear you talk about that a little bit because I
Mhm.
think that is so important, especially too when I work with my clients. I do see a lot of people, they have a tendency because we grow up in very goal oriented society, right? We try to achieve certain goals and have our eyes on certain targets, but it really is sort of it takes a shift, it takes a really important shift to sort of to maintain that ambition and maintain that momentum moving towards something, but allowing a little latitude and a little space there for the universe to work its magic. So I'd
Yeah.
love to hear you talk about specifically like how to detach from outcomes and the importance of that.
Right. And I'll say this, just because I'm saying give the universe permission to surprise you doesn't mean you're not going to get that exact thing that you're visualizing. The thing is it's this or something better. So part of this that I would say in terms of detaching from the concern is the term this or something better,
Mhm.
because you're not giving up what you want. You're not saying, okay, I'm willing to sacrifice this thing and let the universe bring me something better. It's like you're saying, no, I'm getting something awesome, whether it's this or it's something better that I couldn't predict. I did a YouTube video on attracting, your ideal mate, and one of the number one things I said was like, listen, you focus on this one person, maybe they are the one for you, maybe they're the path of least resistance, but what you really want to do is focus on what is it about them that is really like really makes your heart sing. Is it their empathy? Is it their friendliness?
Mhm.
Do they speak your love language? Like, what is it about this person? Because maybe there's another person who has all that, but they don't have they don't have the negatives. Maybe like the person that you want hates your sports team, or is hates your politics or something like that, that will create a lot of tension. Whereas somebody else, they have all the qualities that made you fall for that person to begin with, but they also are much more in line with who you are as a person. By the way, who you are on your spiritual journey, because it isn't just about getting that person in that moment. It's the fact that you're going to grow together, and you want someone that can basically hang in there with you and is going to grow spiritually. Doesn't have to be lined up with you in an exact way, but someone that's healthy and can still rise in the way that in the same general direction. So, for people, just the best advice is understand that, you're not giving up what you want. You're just leaving the universe a little more wiggle room to possibly get you something better, with the understanding that what you want is coming either way, regardless of the form that it comes in.
I love that. I'd love for you to repeat that again, that last segment, because that is
Yeah.
just incredibly powerful.
Well, yeah, the universe, like, you're going to get what you want. The
Yeah.
universe is going to give it to you. Nothing can stop that. It's just,
Yeah.
what's the format? Is it coming in the way you think or the way you don't think? Either way, you are getting exactly what you want.
Yeah, thank you. That is so powerful. And you're getting whatever you want is on its way, right? Regardless
Yes.
of what it is. You will get what you want, and you'll get what's in your highest good. And I think that that's a game changer. I know it was for me on my journey to learn that, the universe, always has my highest good in mind. So then it was a lot easier because then I didn't have to be in the driver's seat all the time. That's
Mm,
exhausting, right? To have to like control and just, flip all these gears and levers and try to orchestrate your life and engineer it in a certain way. That's exhausting and not really a
yes.
lot of fun and stressful and so many other things that are just unpleasant. But it's so much sweeter when you can just relinquish the control and hand it over to the universe.
Yeah.
And you know
And
what? Our job is, oh, go ahead.
well, I was gonna say, I wasted my whole 20s trying to do that. A decade that I could have enjoyed myself, a decade that I could have enjoyed the ride and been
Mhm.
a little more patient.
Yeah. But now I mean, I too, I look back too and I was like, well, gosh, Pam, you were kind of late to the party on this. You where were you in your 20s and 30s and like how different your life could have been. But then it's like, you know what? No, this is about learning along the way. Then it's that like those self, the critiquing thoughts that come in. And I say, no, you're right where you're supposed to be. So
Yeah.
I think it's just important that we take the knowledge and incorporate it into our lives in a way that makes sense. And we can never underestimate the power of planting a seed. But I know when I was introduced to certain topics, for example, plant-based eating, I'm plant-based now, and I was plant-based for the first time about 7 years ago. But in between there, the pendulum was kind of swinging. I went from being an omnivore to 100% vegan, and then I went back to eating meat. And it was a process, and I wasn't quite ready to go full-fledged plant-based at the time I was presented with the information, but the seed was planted, right? The seed was planted and it kind of, sparked a little curiosity and I dabbled with it for a little while and then I stepped away, right? We're all pulled towards what we know, right? Pulled towards what's comfortable and familiar. So I went back to what I knew, but then every time I kind of came back and that's part of the process. I think it's so amazing. So a lot of the knowledge that Andrew is sharing with us today, some of you may be ready for it and some of you may not be yet at this point in your evolution. But I always say you can never underestimate the power of planting that seed because, again, through going through life, your own life experiences, something may prompt you to say, "Oh yeah, this what he said resonated with me. I think I'm going to explore that a little deeper."
Number one thing is, the thing that you want, it might come in 20 days or 20 months or 20 years. Huge question is, if it's going to take that long, what's happening in the meantime? Are you enjoying your life?
Mhm.
Are you literally enjoying it, or are you spending your whole day desperately waiting for that thing to come, which, by the way, is just reinforcing that it's not coming and pushing it away? And again, everything I say here, I am no better than anyone else, and this is the advice I would have hated to hear back in the day before I went through these types of experiences. But I think strategically, I think people seek out joy, and I think that's a wonderful thing. But I also think, because I'm a strategy guy, I think that your joy can be a strategy in and of itself. It can be the fuel by which you invite more joy. If you find ways to be happy in this moment right now, it's going to invite all that stuff that you want faster. And P.S. In the meantime, you're enjoying the ride. Like
Mhm.
right now, I just checked out my YouTube subscriber count. And, I started over the summer, and it's all relative. Some people say it's climbing fast. Other people say it's slow. It's close to 1,000 subscribers right now. Now I want 1 million subscribers, not so I can say I have 1 million and have my YouTube plaque, but it's just my guiding northern star, so that I keep doing what I'm doing and hopefully reach more people and make more impact. But if someone said, "Hey Andrew, I'm going to give it to you tomorrow," I'd be like, "No, please don't," because I also like to answer every customer email, and right now I just don't have the systems in place or the capacity to handle all the emails and work that'll come in
That's
if I
right.
had 1 million subscribers. So right now, I am immensely grateful for those 900 plus souls who looked at my content, clicked subscribe, and said, "I like this, and I'm going to consume this." Why isn't that enough? That's more than enough. And I'm right now, I'm built out. I can take 10,000. I'll take 10,000 right now, but whether that takes a month or a year from now, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to keep enjoying the moment in the meantime and not letting that long $1 million thing, which might be here before we know it, not let that be my excuse to not enjoy the current subscribers I have right now and the current life I have right now.
And that's so powerful because, as you know, it's precisely the way that you're living it, the way that you're approaching it, your mindset around it, all of that that is going to fuel you getting to the $1 million, or I mean to the million subscriber mark,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's that mindset, it's that living in the present, staying in that state of appreciation, which is so powerful because there's momentum behind that. Obviously, all of that from an energetic perspective. You're not looking at where you want to be because then, like you said, you're focusing on the lack, right? You're focusing on what isn't here, which creates resistance. So I think that that is so important. Can you talk a little bit about patience? I know that patience is something that it is in my last go around here on earth. I know it's one of the things I need to master, is patience, and it can be so challenging. I deal with this with a lot of my clients as well.
Mhm.
Having patience while we're waiting for something, right? We're working so hard to manifest a certain situation, whether it's a relationship, a job, a house, whatever it is. Talk a little bit about patience and how we can learn to just enjoy where we are right now.
Right. Well, I think people would be way more patient if they could definitively see the results unfolding. They saw the field in front of them. And this is something I thought about after I published the book. So this isn't even the book, but I think everyone can relate to, you know, they have a niece or a nephew that they see once every 6 months or once every year or whatever. And you see that person and everyone say it with me. What's the thing that you say? You say, "My, look how big you've gotten. Look how tall you are."
Yeah.
But that their parents that are with them every day, they don't say that. They don't wake up the next day and be like, "Oh my God, look how tall you've gotten," because they are living through the incremental piece every single day. Whereas you were removed and you didn't see the incremental, you saw the culmination.
Yeah.
And what I would want to suggest or remind people of is you don't see the incremental improvements, even just the energetic stuff that's bubbling to the surface that's going to explode in three-dimensional reality. My how big you are getting right now, and my how big all the stuff that you have on the way is getting big right now. You just don't see it. So just understand that every single day that you just take 5 minutes out to feel gratitude, just put yourself through that process, you are inviting all this stuff that's going to explode. Though just the way you see your niece or nephew once a year, it's like, oh my God, look where that came from out of nowhere. So just understand my how big you're getting right now in this moment. It is happening even if you don't see it. That's the best excuse. That's the best excuse I can think of to be patient, just to know that it really is happening.
Yeah, I love that. And I always say that, our job is really very simple, right? We just need to show up. We just need to show up every day, really committed to growth, right? Committed to raising our vibration and let the universe just sort it all out.
Yeah.
Right? And then life just becomes, it just feels, at least from my experience, life has become much more simplified for me. I mean, I'm not saying easy, obviously, two very different things, but just simpler. Because all I need to do is show up committed to love and committed to growth every day. And I just let the universe sort the rest out.
Yeah. And you take action, but it really is
Right.
inspired action. Like when I got in that new relationship, I didn't sit on my couch and meditate and all of a sudden a stranger knocks on my door. It's like, "Hey, I'm your new girlfriend." Well, no, no. I was inspired to go on a dating website and I was inspired to look through the profiles. I was inspired to reach out to her. I was inspired to schedule the date, but I wasn't desperately like, "Oh, let me sign up for all the websites and let me message people even if I'm not into them or I don't care about their profile." Like I wasn't overreaching out of desperation. I was like just running through the motion, and when
Mhm.
something was in front of me that it was time to do something, I did it, which makes the journey so much easier because, we are in three-dimensional physical reality here. You are going to take action. The key is, are you taking action out of fear and frustration and doubt? Or are you taking action out of anticipation and satisfaction and fulfillment and gratitude and appreciation and just a positive vibe, knowing that good things are on the way, regardless of how it unfolds?
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. It's the energy behind it, right? It's not only like what you're doing, but what is the energy that you're bringing to it, right? Is it like
Yes.
you said, is it coming with, fear and doubt and some negativity? Or are you coming with enthusiasm and alignment and truth and empowerment and all of that? So two very, very different energies. And like you said, we're all energetic beings. You open up with that and we can sense that even if we don't view ourselves as being spiritual, if someone doesn't necessarily subscribe to a spiritual lifestyle or a spiritual belief system. I mean, the law of attraction is one of the foundational laws of the universe. This is how it works, whether we acknowledge it or not, whether we believe it or not, whether we recognize it or not. So
Mm.
people do pick up on our energy. They do pick up on the vibe, even if we aren't consciously aware of it.
Yeah. It's no surprise that people you'll meet someone and you're like, "Wow, you're glowing." Are
Mhm.
they literally glowing visually, or is there something that you feel that you can't describe? And you kick things off asking me about like what it meant to live authentically, and I gave a little bit of a long-winded answer because that's my style, but it also means living intentionally. Are you intentionally going about your day of, what can I do to be a light to the world? And that
Mhm.
sounds really dramatic and almost pretentious, but if you go about that way, you're going to carry yourself in a way that, you know, believe it or not, for me, the most selfish thing you can do is be selfless. In the sense, like the last thing I want to be is a billionaire if the whole world is in ruin. Because even as a billionaire, if the whole world is in ruins, I can't go to my favorite pizzeria because they're out of business. I can't go to the park because the park's been destroyed. It can't just be you. You want to lift everyone up. So a very selfish yet selfless thing you can do is
Mhm.
be a light to the world. You see someone who's in trouble, try to help them. And I go, this, I know it's a long-winded answer, but I'll never forget. I was on this news board for a band years back, and I know one of my friends was on it, and someone posted on the board, and you can tell they were depressed, you can tell they were suicidal, and my friend doesn't know this person, just posted like, "Hey, dude, are you okay? Do you want to call me?"
Mhm.
My friend's busy. Like, and I'm
Wow.
not saying, I'm not saying you have to hold yourself to that standard, but I'm bringing that up as an example because I was so inspired by my friend in that moment. Like, wow, he doesn't even know this person, but he's just putting himself out there. Like, he cares enough to about a complete stranger to try to help them. If you don't have to do that every day, but if you have that kind of mindset and that kind of attitude, you're going to glow and people are going to notice. And that's where the new job's going to come from. And that's where the new relationship's going to come from. And that's where opportunities are going to come from. And they're not just people passing you on the street. I get to have this conversation with you right now. People don't know because I had a positive interaction with somebody else who connected us. If I didn't
Right.
have that positive interaction, we never would have met. Maybe we would have, but it would have been like a different way. So for me, and I remember the question, but this all comes down to being a light to the world because you're simultaneously being a light to yourself and you're just enhancing everything around you, including everything in your own life.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's such amazing work that you're doing, in the world. What do you believe that your purpose is here on earth?
Hmm.
You're obviously
Um,
living it, but how would you put that into words?
it's so weird because I try to keep it open ended. For me, like where I'm at right now, and it's been different in the past and might be different in the future. Right now is like, can I make a positive impact and leave it at that? Is it through the book? Is it through the YouTube channel? Is it some other way? I don't know, but this helps govern better, healthier decisions for me. So I kind of hold on to that for now, and we'll see where it takes me.
I love it. Again, giving the universe the latitude to work its magic, right? To put you in whatever direction it feels like humanity needs.
Yes, for sure.
Love it. So, well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to share all of this amazing knowledge with us this morning. I'm super appreciative of the time you shared with us.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for patiently sitting through my very long-winded answers. Sometimes I get so excited and I'm a chatterbox, and I mean this. I can tell you have a wonderful audience. If this is the kind of content and the intentionality that you bring, I'm sure you have a really awesome audience that's really learning and growing through all this. So, thanks for letting me be a temporary part of this world today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And if people would like to get in contact with you directly, what's the best way for them to do that?
It's pretty easy. I mean, I'll keep two links I give for people because
Mhm.
YouTube has the contact email. You can go to lastlawofattractionbook.com if you want to check out the book on Amazon. It's like yours. It's Kindle, it's paperback, it's Audible. But if you don't want to pull out your wallet, you just want free info, you can go to youtube.com/Andrew Cap with a K, and check out my content. I throw a little silly humor in there and a lot of fun just because it's video content. I like people to consume it a little bit better, and
Fun.
whether it's the book or the videos, hopefully you'll enjoy the content and use it to your advantage in some way, shape, or form.
Great. Thank you so much. To all of our viewers and listeners, I am super grateful that you were here today. As you know, I believe that time is a choice, and you being here is a choice. So you obviously speaks volumes about your commitment to your growth and transformation. So I'm confident that much of what Andrew said today will change your life in a powerful way. So thank you very much for being here. And don't forget to check out our Facebook group. I would love to have you liveauthentically.today/FB. Thanks again, everyone, and have a great day.